Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story with hosts Andy Lopez and myself, Ken Somerville. Today, we're supposed to be talking about using soil biology to control snails. Okay, so we've done ants. What's the difference between the ants and the snails, Andy?
Uh, I think the snail doesn't have legs. It has a big slithering thing, and ants have legs. I think that's a difference.
Okay, I don't think I'm talking about it in that way, brother, but hey, what the heck, right? It was funny, okay.
Actually, what do they have in common?
Okay.
Right. What do they have in common? That's the question. What do they have in? Hey guys, what do ants and snails have in common?
They're
Somebody in the
considered a
comment. Go ahead.
pest in the garden.
The word garden.
They're
So they have the
considered a
garden.
pest
They
in
have
the
the
garden.
garden. They have the garden in common,
Okay.
right? They have the garden in common. What I was getting at, they have the soil in common.
Uh-huh. And Perpetual is going, so what was the ant remedy? And we're going back into soil again. And that's what Andy just said is what they have in common is the soil. They both come from the soil and go back to the soil.
That's right. And so the key to understanding is that the same thing with ants is that ants belong there, just like the snails belong there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So the point is not to. I like the word controlling rather than removing or eliminating, right?
Yeah.
And it's really a process of balance. And the way you get balance is what? When we're talking about the soil, but it also works for humans and other stuff too. What?
Yeah.
Cheers.
And Ward One Compost is saying they show us signs of disease because you don't have them if you got healthy plants, right?
Well, the what are we talking? What shows the signs of disease? The plants show, or the soil does, or I'm confused.
Basically, I would say if you see snails and ants, then that's just like having a disease in your plant. It's giving you a sign that you have a problem.
No, 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 no.
No?
So that's what. No, so I'm getting at is you're supposed to have ants and snails in the soil. That's not a problem. When you
Okay.
have a billion ants and a billion trillion snails that you can't count, that's a problem. So whenever you have an infestation and it looks like there's an imbalance, right? That's the problem. So
Right.
it's okay to have ants. It's okay to have snails, and after all, it's the same thing with weeds. Right? Pests are really what we call it, right? It's just
It's how
like
we look at it.
exactly right. So that pest doesn't know it's a pest. It's just a bug doing its thing, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to key into when they're sick, when plants are sick. It's supposed to key
Yeah.
into that. And when the soil biology is out of balance, because the key to balance, what keeps everything in balance is a balanced soil biology.
Yeah.
BSB, right?
Okay.
BSB, balanced soil biology. And usually the soil is always balanced if it's functioning, right? If the whole thing is functioning, you got this whole thing system going there that you really, but with me, what I like doing is when I go to a person's property, the system, the soil biology is like, what soil biology, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's the problem. Yeah.
Right. What soil biology? And the structure's not there to support the biology. So there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen in order for the biology to you walk away and the biology says, thank you, and it continues on, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's a but so whenever you have a snail problem, an infestation, I bet you let me back up a second. I think that if people think they have a snail problem, they're really talking about one or two or a few snails here and there. I don't
Yeah.
think they're talking about having a piles and piles of snails crawling across the street or all that kind of stuff. So I think they have to back up and say, okay, uh, the snail is not going to eat your fruit or eat through your plants. There's a reason why it would if your plants are very weak, right? Very, very frail. Just no nutrition in it, very high carbohydrates for the whether it be a snail or ants or whatever other bug, because even ants, since the ants are not the ones who are doing the attacking, the ants bring other creatures around that they then attack the plant, and then you milk them for the nectar. That's the whole thing. The
Yeah.
ants, but it all has to do with eating, and it all has to do with the value of the plant that's being attacked. If the plant is healthy and strong, they will not. Something will come and nibble, go, phew, this is not. I'm going to eat this, right? Move on to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and if the ant, the bug did that and said, "Pew, I'm not going to eat this," and I would say, "Well, you didn't study in class because you missed the whole thing." Normally, what I'm saying is the bug will know they don't have to chew on it to decide if they're going to eat it or not. They can tell by seeing it.
Yeah.
Right. Their eyes. Remember, we talked about how their eyesight can determine. It's just like a refractometer. That when we use the refractometer, we get the refractometer refracts light. So the bugs refract, their eyes refract the light. See, they very same thing. So they have genetically grown to know when it's good to eat. Oh, great, right? The right color, let's eat it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way it works. And so again, it's you have to be careful in what you think the cause of the problem is, because usually there's a cause and a law of cause and effect, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people confuse the effect. They say this is the cause, and I'm going to do. Why can't I control this? Right? Where can I stop this? Right? That would be overpopulation of snails or overpopulation of ants, and you can take it to the other realm in terms of diseases, because same thing in the soil happens with diseases. Overpopulation of this particular type of disease or that disease in the soil. Usually, the pests are the ones that are like they're called ant vectors. They take the disease from the soil and put it over there into that plant.
Yeah.
That's what they do, or from one plant to another plant. So it goes back to the real process, and the sooner one learns how to do this, the faster it will work. Everything will come back to normal in the sense really super healthy, and that would be to get the soil biology growing on its own.
Yeah. And once it's in balance, then everything slowly comes back into balance.
So here's the thing too, is that the real kicker is that the reason why it's out of balance is because the soil biology, it's just like everybody's soil biology, constantly being attacked, whether it be toxins, right, or whether it be electromagnetic radiation, or whether it be whatever that kills the soil biology. It's a constant thing. Like I said, the city water is toxic. City water is toxic. If you one of these days, and I wish I would love to, maybe Layden can do it or something, where you have one of you guys have a really nice microscope where you can look at this. For example, you get some worm juice or even compost seed. You can look under a microscope and you can see the little biology doing this thing. I bet you what I like to do is be able to tape. Okay, we're now going to put a drop of city water in this here soil biology, and then tape it and see what happens. You'll be surprised that it'll die. They will die right in front of our eyes. Tape. They'll just get destroyed by this little drop of this city water. See?
Yeah, and there's not going to be a lot, if any, life in that water, because everything they're putting into it is designed to kill all the biology, so you don't get sick when you drink it. But then those chemicals are making you sick because it's killing your biology in your guts, and it's no good for us either. It's crazy.
So here's an interesting thing too. So in nature, right? In nature, the way it works with water, we get water in lots of different ways, right?
Yeah.
Normally in nature, we don't get it through pipes, right? It doesn't come in a pipe. It comes through a river or whatever system nature has for us to drink it, right? So what's interesting is that when we take water and we run it through pipes, and pipes have these 45-degree angles that they turn, whatever 90-degree angles that they turn. Well, that's not natural. You don't find that in nature.
No.
So what happens is that normally in nature you have structured water. In nature you find structured water. You don't have to go to a lake and say, well, I have to, unless the lake is toxic, even though that's another story too, because there's a book called Image of Water.
Okay.
Oh, cool. That's great. I love the boogie. We need to do something with these guys. The boogie blue filter. They need to be our sponsor or something. I think I'm going to call them up or something. But do you know the book I'm talking about, Image of Water?
I haven't read Image of Water, but I think you're talking about the Japanese scientist Dr.
Right,
Yamoto, who
right,
was
exactly right.
taking pictures.
Right. So it the point I was saying is that he took these samples of the lakes and different places in Japan, and he found that when there were toxic, there was so much toxic in the system that the images of the what it would do would be like an electron microscope. You could see a snowflake, so they have
Yeah.
different shapes of the snowflake. And so when it was toxic, it would be like distorted. Ew, you'd be like it's just and the way he managed to clean it up by praying to the water or doing something like that, which changed the structure of the water. But normally, when humans are and everything that's on the planet that's working together, they normally do not disrupt the natural flows of nature. They're natural. Normally, they don't put toxins in the water, all this kind of radiation, all these other
Yeah.
things. So normally, the water you get, every lake you swim in, even the ocean is actually structured water.
Yeah.
By that I mean that the water has been tuned by nature, and
Yeah.
one of the cool things about it is that it has the data, the information in the water of the minerals and whatever else, because that's how you get this information throughout the world is the water, and
Hmm.
so the main problem that the homeowner and the farmers are have with growing stuff is that this city water alone, the water system that they're using now, is unstructured water that's even more toxic to the environment
Yeah.
as harmonious whole. You understand what I'm saying, right? So the system we're using to irrigate everything is totally out of balance with nature. And so
Yes.
the water, it's killing the biology of the soil,
Yeah.
which in turn is like and then we have these chemicals we're pumping into the soil, and the plants, of course, take it because it's like intravenous feeding, shooting up with sugar or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You get the rush, but it doesn't make for a very healthy environment.
No. It's
And
like you eating McDonald's every day. You're not going to be healthy for very long. Okay.
right, it's the same thing with animals. The way they feed the animals, they want to hurry up and sell them before they get sick, and they actually give so much medicine to keep them alive. Blessed as you water. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's the way to
Put
do
in
it.
the positive energy, and it does have a major effect.
Well, yeah, because the one of the cool things about the way this energy system works is that we are energy beings, 99 something
Yeah.
percent water, right? And we have within our bodies, the way it works is the electricity and the way the energy flows, it uses water. And
Yeah.
I tell people that energy follows water and the water follows energy. So it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting because that's the way it works in nature. And in terms of by following, you find that when the river falls you have this swirling water, structured water has, if you look at it, you can figure out it under like a refractometer or through the eyes of an insect. It'll see all the trace minerals you need in there.
Yeah. Okay.
If you drink that water, your body will go, oh, I'll take some of this, I'll take some of that, I'll take some of this. And that's the way we normally should be. This is the way we have evolved throughout the millennium for the human race and other creatures too. When they drink the water, they're actually getting the minerals. So to go back to the snails, there are several things that we need to do. One, there's a long-term solution and a short-term solution. So
Okay.
if you're having a real bad problem right now and the snails are like eating everything up, a couple of things you have to understand. You need to change your source of seeds and your source of plant. You can't go to the nursery now and buy stuff off the shelf and expect those things to do anything at all because the genetics play a big part of it. You take something that's been genetically grown for a long time, chemically, whether it be vegetable seeds or whatever other kinds of seeds, herbicide seeds,
Yeah.
And then you try to grow, and then you say I'm organic, but these seeds are not, and they're not going to. You're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to develop the root systems that they need to handle the organic system. They're going to be very genetically very weak. So you're going to have to spray something to keep them alive, and spray something else to keep them alive. And they so it's a process that people have to understand that you have to get the genetics together with the biology. You have to get the right kind. So when I buy by genetics, I like the seeds I have are always organic heirloom varieties. And
Yeah.
they may cost a little more, but then it's well worth it. There you go. Organic heirloom seeds
Heirloom
are the best source.
seeds.
Yeah,
Yeah, heirloom seeds are the best source from a good supplier that you can trust.
that's right. That's right. So, and there's a one interesting about the heirlooms, and I said organic because heirloom doesn't always mean organic. It's supposed
Mhm.
to be, but it's very bad. Sometimes I've discovered some people were selling heirloom seeds, and there was a whole big problem because they weren't really organic. So it's like what they. So they should be. It should be if they're heirloom, they should be. It's like compost. You don't have to say organic compost.
Mhm.
Compost should always be organic. So heirloom should always be organic as well. But there's a great seed company that you guys should get a hold of. It's called the Seed Catalog. I think it's called the Whole Seed. Yeah, it's called the Whole HOLE Seed SEED Catalog. It's like the Whole Earth
Okay.
Catalog. And
Okay.
every year they come out with an amazing assortment of organic heirloom plants and seeds and vegetables and varieties from all around the world. If I had thought about it, I could bring out the book. And as a matter of fact, next time I will go over that a little bit because you'll be surprised and the amazing varieties of plants you can get from around the world to grow in this place here. Because what you're really doing is you're creating a biology for anything to grow in,
Yeah. Well,
right?
and something that a lot of people don't understand is when you get those seeds, there's biology inside the seed and outside the seed. If you're not having a seed that's been grown in soil that's organic and you're using the herbicides and pesticides, it's killing a lot of the biology that's supposed to be inside and outside that seed. That's one of the reasons that they're not healthy because they don't have the right biology to start with to make them healthy. And they have to try to create that biology through things like quorum sensing to give that soil what that plant actually needs for nutrition and biology. So by starting with a seed that has been grown organically in soil that has been healthy coming from a healthy plant, you're getting all that biology that the mother plant is putting into that seed both inside and outside.
That's why what Silly Lily said was so true. If you know the source, know what the people do, you'll find that you'll stumble upon all the really good ones. Because I could spit out a bunch of seed companies that I like buying from, and
Well,
of
here's
course,
one that Lily does, Mackenzie Seeds.
exactly right, and they've been around for like she says over 100 years.
Yeah.
And I've ordered from them before. I have their catalog. There's a whole bunch. Quite a few of them. They've been around for quite a while,
Yeah.
and they do have a good variety of seeds. And I've learned. See, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have. And by the way, I saw a snail today, and I
Okay.
said hi. I didn't do a thing to it. I think a bird came and ate it. I'm not really sure because I was sitting out there and I heard the bird said, "Oh, still." So I think the bird got it, so I
Yeah.
felt good. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't do anything to it at all. But listen, guys. So the, you're going to find that every time we talk about something, how the biology can control this, how the biology can control that, we're
Mhm.
really talking about the soil and the fact that everything comes back to the soil.
Yeah.
So we can talk like we were looking at my book. There's some chapters about citrus diseases, and some chapters on basic tree diseases or pests of the trees. They all go back to the same thing.
Soil biology.
And I'm really thinking of the next chapter is you don't need to know anything about what pests or diseases are. All you need to know is that how to keep the soil happy and healthy. That is all you need to know. Because if you get really, really good at that, and by that I mean, it's like it's not your definition of what's happy and healthy, it's what Mother Nature's definition is. If you learn how to let it have a healthy environment, right, where the soil biology thrives, it shouldn't really need you, right? It shouldn't really need you to keep it going. It should be a sustainable system that every time you come back, everything's doing really, really cool. You want to live there only if you can fit into that scheme of things you make, right? And so that's what I always strive to do. Every place that I live at, it's always in better condition than when I arrive. When I leave, and it's the same thing with people's properties. I find that, for example, there's one place I was there 20 years. It recently got sold. And here's what's going to happen. It could take quite a few years for that property, because we're going to assume that the new people are not going to be giving it the organic stuff on a regular basis. They may have a water filtration system in it, but I don't think they do. The other people didn't get one. I told them to get a whole property one. And so assuming that these are normal people, go back to chemicals, 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years, everything will degrade right away, really fast.
Yeah, very, very fast if they're not maintaining the biology and they're just depopulating. They've taken all the workers out of the system.
And the first thing that will happen is you'll have an ant problem. The second thing that will happen is you'll have a snail problem.
Yeah.
Right? That's the second thing you'll have. And then you're going to start getting diseases. Not you, but the plants. Plants, whether it be fruit trees, whether it be whatever type of trees, you're going to see whether it be a pest attacking it, because one or two things happen, or both. Usually a pest will attack it and bring along a disease with it.
Yeah.
And infect the plant with that disease. And for me, and the snails are just I grew up right. I grew up in understanding when I see a lot of snails, I go, well, there's a problem here.
Something's out of balance.
I see a few snails running around. I go, not a problem, because usually I've learned how to. And when I started growing things, I failed for you got to spray your plants with stuff. Organics, you have to spray something, right? So they use this organic this, so that organic this, right? To spray the plants, otherwise they'll get eaten. And so I said, well, what happens if you don't spray the plants with this stuff? Well, they will get eaten, they'll die. Well, why are they? What's the point of growing something they're going to die? So I learned that, the plants are so weak that you have to constantly, like humans, you have to give them, if the person's really weak, you have to give him shots all the time, so otherwise he'll catch this or catch that, he'll die, right? His immune system is shot. So it's the same thing. So the soil, the way it works in nature is that, of course, if the soil's not feeding you or the plants are not getting the food, it triggers in every system there, whether it be the ants or whether it be snails or diseases. It's time to start doing something, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
And so that's really a long-term solution. One of the easiest short-term solutions is if you know somebody who has compost, because if you were making compost, you wouldn't have this problem. See, I already know that if you're not making compost, if you were making compost, you wouldn't have this problem, right? You would because that's the process of making compost, constantly bringing in the soil biology, bring more biology, dump it over here, dump it over there, right? Make a nice pile of this stuff. So I would say find somebody that makes compost, figure out a way to buy some from him, and then start using it. That's the fastest way to control your snail problem or to control your ant problem or disease problem. That's what you want to tackle right away. And it's really not the fastest way, because there's a faster way, but I mean the fastest way to get into this thing, to get into the soil. The best thing to do is to bring what I do in a customer's place. Basically, what I do is I tell them, okay, I'm going to be bringing 3 things: compost, soil, and mulch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm also going to bring in some type of rock dust. I usually get a rock dust blend, a blend of rock dust.
Well,
Those
you need the minerals.
right,
Yeah.
those together. So what I'll do is I'll blend everything together except for the mulch. A little bit of the
Okay.
rock dust. The rock dust for me is a mineral. So I have this, and I think I told you in one of our shows some of my sources of the rock dust. You can get about 10 different varieties of rock dust. So
Yeah.
cool because each of them will have like as in my is 3% calcium, whereas the one agriment, which is another rock dust from Southern California, it's a really nice alluvium clay, is 30% calcium.
Mm-hmm.
30% calcium. Okay, you don't find that in rock dust, and that's why it's called alluvium clay because it's really clay, and it
Yeah.
comes from hot. There's a hot sulfur. There's a hot mud bath in San Diego that this underground volcano, whatever it is, heats it up, and that's the stuff he sells.
Okay.
And I have some, and that's why I'm making my liquid. I've been using it. I love. I have to drive down there, or even pay for 50 pounds. It's probably like $50 at least shipping.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh
Right?
yeah, $1 a pound. Yeah, that's cheap.
Yeah. But it's definitely worth it because uh, the 30% calcium is just absolutely amazing because we've talked about that before. How calcium is very important in
Yeah.
the process and assimilation of all the trace minerals. It's like a doorway. If you have the right amount of calcium, it opens the doors to magnesium and everything else. You need all of them working. And
Yeah.
I blend those together, small amount. Where I learned, I keep telling people, oh, it's just like Leyden does. Don't be a moron. So
Yeah.
you do. So what the key words here is trace. So you
Yes.
have to add, that's why it's called trace minerals. So if you add too much trace minerals, it becomes toxic. So you always learn to add a tiny amount. So you mix them together, that's great. But then you take like a cup to a whole wheelbarrow.
Yeah. And it's micronized minerals is what you're
Right. And
looking
it's really, and it should be, and I get one of the things I like about getting different types of rock dust is some is very fine, like
for.
200 mesh, and it ranges all the way up to little pebbles, little tiny chunks of
Yeah.
rock, or you know what I mean. There are different grades of it. When you mix them together, you have like some of them become available right away, and some of them take a while to break down, so they become little housing units, right? Right for the
Yeah.
microbe. And so I
Mm-hmm.
blend them together. When I was in Florida, I was really good at this in the sense that I've learned that rabbit manure are little pellets.
Yeah.
So these little pellets are really, really amazing biological bombs that have this biology inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned it from llama manure, pellets also.
Yeah.
Uh,
Alpaca.
yeah, they're much higher nitrogen, but the biology. So I would take those little guys, and I would actually when I make like they're great for making tea, for example, excellent for
Right.
making tea. They're also excellent for burying in the ground because of the fact that they're like little cities in there, right? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you inoculate the soil and you learn how to do like I would do the compost, and
Mm-hmm.
I would do the soil, blend the two together, a little bit of this rock dust. If I can get a hold of the llama pellets or whatever pellets, I would add that a little bit, sprinkle some of that into it there,
Yeah.
and then you turn that over into the soil. So you have this incredible time release mixture of biology in there, and your job is to keep them alive. So ideally, you want to turn it over with your local soil, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the mulch it's also the key word because the sun will destroy that, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And rain and that. And guys, remember that these pellets are cold, not like something like chicken manure, which is hot. These you can actually put directly in the soil.
Exactly right. And they're really, really great time release fertilizers
Yeah.
and also time release biology because you can also take those and make a tea out of it. You'd be
Mhm.
amazed at the biology, how it affects your plants, and you can bury them. So what I've done before is I have socks. So I would put them in the sock like little pouches of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
bury them under some plants. That was my secret to get giant sunflowers. So I would dig a hole, put a sock full of these little pellets in there, right?
Yeah.
Bury them down, put some soil back, put a sunflower seed on top of it, and people say, "What are you feeding it to make it grow so big?" I go, "Well, it's a secret. I'm not going to tell anybody."
Oh man, the secret's out now, Andy. But brother, we got some statements, questions that we.
Okay, I wasn't looking. Go ahead.
Can we change the genetics of seed? And yes, that's what by having it in a living, breathing soil, you're going to heighten the genetic code as you give the availability for more minerals, etc., more biology to use those. You're going to increase the genetic potential of the plant to reach that maximum level. Do you have anything to add, Andy?
Plus, you can, as a gardener myself, for example, I love tomatoes. So throughout the year, I'll be growing these tomatoes, and quite often I'll bring another variety. So I could literally throughout the years, I've been changing the genetics of the tomatoes. I would get 2 different varieties of tomatoes that I really like. Or usually what happens is this one variety, one year, this one tomato, not the plant, this one tomato where I go, "Oh my God, it has a very high Brix reading." Everybody goes nuts. I take those seeds and I grow those. I'll take those seeds and I'll grow those. So then and then from those variety, I will get the one that does the same thing. You're now changing the genetics.
Keeping the best of the best.
You take those variety, and that's the one you grow again. And you do that every year, and you'll find that you're going to get an amazing way. And you can even deliberately do it because you can cross-pollinate.
Yeah.
Because there's one way when you're in the tomato, you have all different varieties of tomatoes, and when they're pollen, you can take a little paintbrush and go cross-pollinate. You're mixing the genetics in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's the same thing with pot. It's a really simple way to mix, because I do that a lot. I did that a lot with the brush. Deliberately, so you have this next generation of seeds which have the mixture of the two, totally different genetic, right?
Yeah. So then we'll jump on to what Silly Lily had to say here. Mackenzie Seeds does not sell, nor have they ever sold, any seeds treated with nicotinoids, or NICOs for short. The impacts of this class of chemicals on pollinating insects, such as honeybees and native bees, is a cause for concern. So just to point out, the coating, if it's a nicotinoid, it's bad for our pollinators.
Not only bad for pollinators, but it's just bad for birds, bees, bumblebees, bugs, everything. It's one of those things that it's actually that comes from the tobacco, that comes from the nicotine product. It's not nicotine, it's a coatine. That's the actual chemical in it. Because when I have a test that it's this little strip that you pee on to see it, because once nicotine gets into your body, if you don't eliminate it, you're going to accumulate it.
Right.
And nicotine has there are 5 different types of exposure to nicotine: first hand, second hand, third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand. Fifth hand, you know what that means? So like no.
Sorry.
No. What it means is that, look, first hand is obvious, right? That you're right next door to somebody you're talking to them, right? Smoking in your face, right? Second hand,
that's second hand. First hand is me consuming it.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's right. That would be you consuming it, right? That's the first hand, right? Second hand, you're standing there next to it. Third hand is like you're a little bit further away. Fourth hand means, okay, you wasn't even wasn't anywhere near you. Says maybe around the block. Fifth hand is that you come back the next day. That's why they say in the park, no smoking in the park. It doesn't make any difference. Nobody there. But one lady can come the following day who's a non-smoker and will get the nicotine by touching it. It sticks around for a long time. But it's called coatine. So there's a test you can take to see if you have it, and there are things or different kinds of herbs you can take to eliminate it. But that stuff, not only it actually destroys, just the same thing it does to humans. It destroys the ability for the nerves, the system to work, the electricity to work. That's basically what it does. It coats the nerve endings of how the system works, and you can't. And one more thing too is about bees is that, so what's going on with bees, and this started a while ago because people were starting to do genetically modified corn.
Yeah.
And the bees were all getting really disease, more and more diseases, and that brought upon the sudden death syndrome, where the bees would die suddenly, and nobody could say that they knew where it was coming from, but that's what was happening. Bees were being exposed to more and more of this genetically and one of the problems with being exposed is that their royal pollen would end up being toxic to the queen.
Yeah.
Right. And then here you have millions of acres of this corn, right, genetically modified corn, with the bees only getting that. So it's a major problem, and so that's what's going on now. The bees are literally collapsing. There's going to be less. It depends on where you're at, but the major stocks, the farmers, from what I hear, they have to transport them back. There's several companies that move their bees around just for that, because you're running out of bees, and it's getting worse and worse. But the other thing I heard that's interesting too is that African killer bees are moving in to take their place, and they do the same thing. They pollinate. They'll do the honey. They'll do the whole thing. Except that you can't mess around with these guys. And
there's a lot of them actually in New Mexico. They're actually and in Mexico, they found ways that they can actually take the honey, etc. They just have to take the extra precautions.
Oh, really?
You don't want them in. Unless you want a security system, you can put a hive out in front of your house, keep the neighbors away anyway. But yeah, the bees, there's the sudden hive death. There's a lot of different diseases that bees can get. The varroa mite is one of the most prevalent things right now for bees, and that's I was talking about it on a show a few days ago. It really has a lot to do with the biology and viruses that are coming on the varroa mite into the hive, not necessarily the varroa mite itself causing problems in a beehive.
So it is. There are so many different things going on now, and it really comes back down to if we practice what we're talking about. It's all about the biology, because seriously, that is the key to fixing everything. Whether it be the bees, right, to help the bee recover, animals, help them recover, help the trees, the forests, the ocean. So you people will say, what does the ocean has its own biology too. As a matter of fact, the ocean and the land, the biology is intermixed all the time.
Yeah. Well, exactly, right.
Right.
So that kind of goes into what Super Nessa is talking about, which he's been watching his plants literally change from grow to grow. It's the same strain, and he wants to know, are they reaching their genetic potential, or are they starting to heal?
I would say they're starting to heal. I think that there's a to say that any of these plants there's potential, and that can't go any higher or do any better is a mistake. Same thing with saying with people, you only have a certain potential and that's it. You can't do anymore. So it's really just a matter of making the opportunity available for them. That's what we're here for. In a lot of ways, when we're growing things, we have to look at. And I look at it as a guardian rather than an owner. Unfortunately, I have to kill them and eat them. It's a little bit conflicting on certain levels, but because I have a hard time killing. I used to grow sprouts. I have a hard time killing them. I'd rather put them in the ground, right?
Yeah.
But it's a process. But it's really a process of looking at how the soil. See, one of the things I like about this show is that when we say it focuses on what's really the problem, and that's the biology. It
Yeah.
focuses on the essence of what is needs to be. Whatever, even all your other shows are all focusing on the biology.
Hmm.
See, so and that's the most important thing. But right now, I don't see enough of it happening fast enough. I don't see enough cities saying it's about the biology, right?
The thing is, Andy, I only came out with it's all about the biology, what, 2 years ago?
It's your fault. You should have done it like 30 or 40 years ago. What the
I
heck, right?
didn't know. I didn't know. I
There's,
only
there's
found out
no
about it
excuse.
myself that long ago.
There's no excuse. You should have done it 40 years ago. Where were you when I was running around yelling on the corner that it's the end, it's the end, it's the end. The end is near, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is people, if they actually take a deep dive into, how much biology is in our soil systems and in our oceans, in our water systems, and they start looking at that, they start realizing there's species dying constantly every single day because of the balance being thrown out of balance, with the biology, that we don't have that long if we don't get this problem solved and start bringing the biology back into the systems. If we have a biological collapse, well, we just don't exist on this planet anymore. And she starts all over again with the biology that's deep in the soil. It'll eventually come up and repopulate, but we just won't be here.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because see, we can, we'll die out because we need this particular type of biology, and then when we're gone, the biology doesn't have to say, well, let's bring that creature back, right?
Yeah.
But the biology will come back. The
Yeah.
biology will come back, and regardless of given enough time and space and the rest of the thing happening, because it's all a matter of, right. The biology has to be. We can only be here for so long. Then their solar system is going to blow up. So there's no biology there, right? So
Well,
it
the
has
thing
to be
is
a certain.
when Mother Nature restarts, there's nothing saying that she's going to, put the cells together that create a human body or a cat's body or a dog's body. She's going to try a different variety of complexes and put the cells together totally different than what our physical form would be. It's still a cell. It's still ran by the biology. It's still built by the biology. It's just they're going to go, well, no, and instead of bipedal, we're going to go 4 legs and 6 arms.
It could be anything. The point
Exactly.
the point is that right now, and that's one of the reasons why my one of the shows is called From the Soil to the Soul.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the fact that I'm a follower of Baba Ron does. He says, "Be here now."
Yeah.
And that's so cool because being here now means, okay, what is it that I have to do now for me? I'm very greedy. What do I need right now? What's going on here now? And in order to survive, we have to have this biology thing going on here.
Yeah.
In order
And then we have to give it the building blocks like you are with in the soil with the rock dust, etc., and the minerals. We need to have both, but without the biology, you can have all the minerals you want, and it ain't gonna matter.
And it's a serious issue because I almost everywhere I go. I mean, I don't want to put other people's homes and stuff down, but seriously, outside there's nothing really going on there.
No,
It's a matter of watering a lot. It's a matter of things die, okay, pull it up, replace it, put something else in there, dump some fertilizer on it here and there, and if it's diseased, we'll fix it. If we can't fix it, it's out, and there's nothing there. It's literally nothing there.
No life.
And right, and then you wonder why you yourself are ill, and you will be. You're not going to be in any good. First of all, you're not going to be energetically. You're not going unless you're an alien in some kind of space suit. You walk around. And when you come, or maybe you're like the Doctor Who. The house is like a tortoise. As soon as you come in, you have a different environment. No, you're going to be a product of that environment.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. For me, I have that problem living in a city where there's more and more people. I mean, last place I lived at, I looked at my Wi-Fi. There was like 30 or 40 different Wi-Fis, on my system here, going, holy stuff. And I actually said more than that, but that means that all these electromagnetic energy are you overlapping me, right? They're overlapping in here. You go, ha, 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 right?
You could float away, Andy.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I can't wait until I go to a forest or someplace where there's actually no electrical lines, no electrical currents.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. And one of the things I like about this house is that it has solar power.
Okay, cool.
So what's cool about this house, not here, is that it doesn't have the same shocking electricity that all these other houses have, which are like, right?
Yep. I'm glad the program cut your voice back and made it reasonable. It would have been really bad.
And it's also equivalent of what happens to the and by biology we have to be clear that we're really talking about everything: birds, animals, creatures. That's the biology. We're the biology, not just the soil.
Yeah.
The air, the trees, the forest, the ocean. All this is the biology. This is one biology. That's what we have to look at. We can't say that soils is one biology and the earth is. The water is another biology. No, it's one big biology. It's like having this is my left hand, this is my right hand, these are my legs, right? This is my head. One biology.
Yep.
And that's what we have to look at, because if this one biology is sick, we're in deep doo-doo.
Well, that's why we're supposed to be getting a lot of the minerals, those micronutrients in our bodies through eating the plants and animals. But because they're not getting it, we're not getting it, which means we're even that much more sick than we should be. We got to make our soils healthy so the animals get the biology into their systems. And then when we consume that animal or that plant, it's got the biology, it's got the micronutrients in its cells that we take in and put into our cells.
And so I've been doing this for quite a while, and I started yelling and screaming in 1970. And every 10 years I give up. And but you can't keep going around yelling and not doing it. I don't think we're going in the direction of more and more Earth is being saved than destroyed. More and more of the biology it's getting healthier than sick. I think it's going in that other direction. I think there's more and more toxins than ever before.
Yep, there is.
More and more toxins everywhere. And whether it be electromagnetic radiation toxic, or whether it be Roundup toxic, or whether it be your food toxic, because the food is really super toxic now.
Oh yeah,
you can't really just go out and eat, because you're going to definitely be ingesting some form of toxin, right? And it's a bit of a problem. And I think I don't want to be like a bad guy, but I think the only real solution. I mean, if I was Mother Earth, I would go, well, just wait for it.
Just give us a little shake and we'd all be gone, and you just start all over again.
Just wait for it, right? And we're gone, and we're it. Just like the way the dinosaurs were lucky that a meteor came along and wiped them out.
It was quick.
Otherwise they wouldn't. They wouldn't really have. They would still be here. So I guess we were lucky that they came and wiped out the dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs,
or we'd be running from T-Rex, man.
And the dinosaurs didn't do the damage to the soil that we're doing now.
No.
The stuff we do now have never been seen on this planet before.
Well, it's really a lot of bad things that we have created, because you have to consider the periodic table of elements hasn't changed. They add things here and there as they find them, but the elements themselves on this planet haven't changed. It's just how we combine them, and we've combined them in such a way that we're damaging our planet and ourselves and the biology that controls everything. I don't think most people understand just how much biology is in your body, but over 90% of your DNA and RNA is not human, it's biological. So we just, it's an awareness and knowledge and understanding. It's like when people are dealing with cannabis that don't understand cannabis and putting it, it's the devil's weed, when it's actually one of the most beneficial things for our bodies, our endocannabinoid system, to have those components brought in. But it's a lack of education, Andy. But that's why we're here, brother. That's why you've written over 20 books.
So listen, I one of the things I like about you is that you're a very logical person, and I love everything you say because it's totally true. And I've been trying to tell people the basics of the simple fact is that we can't. I mean, nuclear power plants, right? I mean, for crying out loud, and every single nuclear power plant in the world leaks. They also have a problem.
You're not supposed to know that, Andy.
They also have a problem with their waste,
Mm-hmm.
and that leaks. So here we have for example, in the United States, San Diego nuclear power plant been out of commission, right? They're not working anymore. They're leaking, and the storage is leaking. The federal law says you're not supposed to put a power plant within 35 miles of a city. Well, San Diego's is 30 miles away. And now they shut it down, but they just can't walk away from it. We're spending millions of dollars, and it's still leaking. It's leaking into the ocean. They figure, well, if it leaks in the ocean, no problem, right?
Yeah, it just kills all the oceans.
And radiation, it's one of those things that takes thousands of years to clean up. The microbes will clean it up, but thousands of years it'll take to clean it up.
Yeah, they can actually secure it like they have at Chernobyl. They're finding it, if they don't disturb the soil, the radiation has been captured, the isotopes in the fungal hyphae, but when they disturb the soil, it re-releases. So the biology can trap it, just don't, it's like having a windstorm coming and closing your windows. You're safe, but you open the windows and you get all that rush. Well, that's the nuclear isotopes if you disturb that soil.
So look at it this way too. Okay, around the world, how many nuclear power plants do you think we got, right? And just imagine,
hundreds, thousands.
Right, just imagine if they're all leaking and they all have the same problem. What do we do with this toxic waste? Oh, we'll put it over here. Well, that's over here is leaking too. We're running out of room, and China's building one a month.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm like, oh, okay. So here's what's going on. So we're gonna not only have we. Hey guys, I am sorry to go off on this. Remember, we're talking about snails and the biology, but I have to just,
go for it, Andy.
So it's I forgot what we're talking about.
We're talking about nuclear waste and nuclear power plants.
So look, so so we have started on this path of climate change because we screwed up. Okay, so that's one issue right there. Okay, climate change. We're gonna go into an ice age, and I can prove it to you and show you, explain how that's gonna work. We're already in the ice age, as a matter of fact. Just look around what's going on with certain winter times. They're gonna get worse and worse and worse. Eventually, there will be no summertime, no spring, just one big long winter. That's bad enough alone. But throw in a nuclear winter. Let's make it more fun. Let's have every nuclear power plant blow up on you when it gets too frozen or whatever it is, and then it's called a nuclear winter. Let's go through that too. Let's do that. You're kidding me. That means finish. The only way you can survive this, you have to get in a plane, in a spaceship, and go to some other place. Why do you think these wealthy people want to go somewhere else? That's the only way they can do, whether it be the moon, Mars. Hey, let's go to Mars and own Mars. Let's do it there, even though they're going to have a hard time because all the people are already there. All the creatures are going, you ain't coming over here.
Well, there are over 30 plus alien species here. They're finally admitting that they've had this alien technology for decades. They've been interacting with alien for decades. That stuff is finally coming out as factual, right? The thing is, we could solve the problems of the biology on this planet in 2 to 3 years. It's just a matter of getting them to stop killing the biology, not selling any of the products out there that are killing the biology, only selling products that enhance biology. We can fix it very, very quickly because the biology works at lightning fast paces, right? That we're talking thousands of generations a week in some of this biology. They can fix it if we stop killing them and help them. And that's why we're here, and that's why you've been doing this. And for 50 years you've been preaching this, Andy, and we're never going to give up. Even, you know, right to the end, we're going to keep trying, and hopefully we win, and this gets out to more and more and more people, and the changes made where we can save our planet and our species.
So it's taking one step at a time. All we can do is just one step at a time. When I wrote the book, How to Heal the Earth in Your Spare Time, that's exactly it. Everybody does their own little part. Everybody, and that's all you can do. But again, there has to be, and it's very disturbing because if you look, we're not going in the right direction now. It's getting worse and worse. We're doing more and more toxic, more and more of the wrong thing. Like we're a bunch of idiots. We were sitting on the tree branch, right? Cutting the branch we're sitting on. Now we're cutting the tree that we're sitting on. So it's like,
the thing is, Andy, my friend, it is actually happening more and more. Like we're seeing a very small amount. You're seeing just a small amount happening in Malibu, but there's farms like hundreds of thousands of acres globally that are moving into this understanding, which is absolutely amazing. We can hit 10% of the planet. It is back to where it should be. Then we have a really good chance of survival. But our water is a big one. That's a big one.
Water and people poop. Right.
Only the thing is human manure is one of the most biologically diverse and nutrient diverse on the planet if you're not taking any of their chemicals. As soon as you're ingesting their chemicals, it makes it bad. But then, so are the cows, so are the horses, so are all these animals that we rely on to get that manure. We're putting in those chemicals, we're putting in those antibiotics into the animal, and then using that manure. We're not doing ourselves any good. It's like, know your farmer. Well, you got to know the farmer that's growing the say it's a bovine, a cow, who's growing the grains that are fed, who's growing any supplements, what's in that grass that's being fed to that animal. Is it coming from a biologically active soil system? That's where we really need to fine tune what we're doing to get the biology back in as much of a greater area as we can, and get it back into our water systems, because water is life. Without it, we're 90+% water. If we don't have good water to consume ourselves, we're in major trouble. And that's the point we're at now. That's where, there's people around the world trying to fix the water problem. There's people around the world trying to fix the soil problem. And it's bringing all of those people together under this basic umbrella of understanding, because biology, doesn't matter if it's air, water, or soil, or us. It's all, like you said at the beginning of the show, it's all the same biology, and we have to work together to bring it into alignment and balance.
Exactly right. And it's so easy too, but you have to constantly, you have to work at it, because it's a habit, and we're constantly being bombarded with this advertising. Do this way, do that way, before you know it. And I mean, it's tough enough to get in a car that's constantly polluting, right? I would love to be able to figure that one out. And it's also,
well, don't go electric, because that's an electric vehicle actually pollutes an exponential percentage more in its construction than anything else out there, than anything that a a normal vehicle can produce in pollution. An electric vehicle is exponentially worse because of the manufacturing processes.
No, not only that, but you have these batteries that end up in a very toxic
So
environment.
where's the power coming from? Nuclear and all
Right,
these coal
exactly.
plants, and it's no better. But Andy, we're at an hour, brother, and we have
Oh,
a guest.
oh, wait, we have a 2-hour show today.
Oh, what you want to do a 2-hour show? Did somebody shove a cattle prod up your butt that you got all this energy? What? Keep going, keep going.
Okay. No, we're
Well, we
good.
have a guest next week, Andy.
Yes, we do.
And his name is. Do you want to
Michael
tell
Whitman.
him who it's going to
Yeah.
be?
His name is Michael Whitman. He does a biochar, a wood vinegar. So he's going to talk to us about that. You'll find that that's carbon, see. So, and he's going to tell us all about biochar, and it has incredible wood vinegar, which is a really amazing biology by itself. So we'll see everybody next week.
We're going to find out about tea luds and all kinds of stuff for making biochar, the different uses of biochar, both in all the components that are made from the process of pyrolysis in making biochar. So that's going to be an exciting episode, guys. We'll catch you guys next week on Gardens, the Untold Story. And Andy, put your fingers up, say peace out, and I'm going to end the stream.
Peace out.